Encore Podcast.
A very warm welcome, folks, to the Encore Podcast. I'm Rob McConnell. I'm the CEO of the Waterfront and the Ulster Hall, some of Belfast's most iconic venues. And today I'm going to be introducing you to the Encore Podcast, which is really an opportunity to get a sneak peek behind the curtain of some of those people and personalities that grace our stages from the world of sport, business, theatre and music. And today I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by a very good friend and also a host of the Natural Resilience Podcast, Mr. Ciaran May. Ciaran, great to have you.
It's great to be involved, Rob, because about a year ago you were my guest on the Natural Resilience Podcast, and we had a great conversation about your vision for Waterfront Hall, for the local community, for bringing people together in these amazing venues. And here we are, like it seems like yesterday, but a year later, we're now in a newly developed podcast suite with probably the greatest backdrop of any podcast.
It's pretty special, isn't it?
It's incredible. And I think for me, when you look there, you think of the people that have stood on that stage.
Yeah.
And the hundreds of thousands of people that come through the door.
Yeah.
For experiences.
Yeah. I mean, going back, it's actually not long until our 30th birthday of the Waterfront Hall. So come January 17, we'll be 30 years old. And if you remember, Bono shortly after that standing as part of the whole Yes concert, which obviously was in aid of the Good Friday Agreement, trying to encourage people to vote in the Good Friday Agreement and to vote yes. And that since then we've had many big stars, you know, from Bob Dylan to Neil Diamond, and your favourite One Direction were actually on that stage also. But no, I mean, as the Waterfront Hall was designed to regenerate this part of the city, but also to bring economic, social and cultural impact, and it's done just that in a whole range of ways. You know, so we don't just do entertainment here. People think, oh, you know, we do music, we do comedy.
Yeah.
We also host a range of international and national conferences, and those conferences really feed the city. I think people maybe don't realise that. Yeah,
but I mean, when I think of the Waterfront Hall, it's almost part of the skyline.
Yes.
Really, it's a figure, a pivotal figure in the city. And probably my own bias before I got to know you was my perception was that Waterfront Hall is musicals, concerts, comedians, and today we've got a couple of special guests in, and it's sport. It's the sport of boxing. Indeed,
yeah, and delighted to have Jamie Conlon join us today, and also Pody McCrory, world champion, both amazing boxers in their day, but also now managers and promoters. So great to see that they have made that transition from, you know, fighters and found a pathway in their sport. And I guess, you know, you'll hear them talk about pathways and the importance of pathways. And I think for this venue, that is certainly a huge role that we will play alongside Jamie and Pody. Not just on the event that's coming up on the 26th of June, but for years to come.
Yeah, I think on that point, like, how important is sport for bringing people together, for a city, for economic growth? I know we're going to focus on boxing today, but sport in general for young people and having a platform for them. I mean, you know that, you know, taking that high level view, but how can you articulate that to somebody listening with the importance of sport for young people and getting them into venues like this?
Yeah, well, there's many reasons. I mean, inspiration's probably one of the key things. You know, whenever kids watch sport, it becomes part of their life. They get inspired. They see their heroes. You would have had your childhood heroes, so did I. And they shape how that person behaves and how they grow up. And also the passion. Like, everybody needs a passion. You have to have a passion for something. And I suppose sport has filled that. And of course, Belfast is one of a number of cities of sport for 2026. I'm not sure if the audience would know that, but sport needs to be celebrated, and we need to be doing more in sport. And I certainly, when I wrote the business plan, when I first arrived as CEO of these venues, I was putting sport at the heart of that plan. So although we, as you say, we built back 30 years ago as a multi-purpose venue for music, for theatre, We've seen a lot of great comedy over the years, a lot of great orchestral performances by the Ulster Orchestra and others. But we actually lend ourselves really well to sport. So you'll have seen the success of the World Snooker Tour here. We're actually, like, the Waterfront Hall is considered by many of the players on the World Snooker Tour to be probably one of the best venues on the tour.
Did a player come out and say that publicly? Was there a player actually?
Yeah, it's actually the world number one. Jude Trump said it last year when he was here for the NI Open. So that gives you a bit of perspective on how well we're set up for sport. And when it comes to boxing in particular, yes, Ulster Hall, home of Northern Ireland boxing, but actually, and you'll hear this through the interview between yourself and Jamie and Pody, the fact that the size that we sit around that 2,000, 2,200 mark is a perfect size in terms of a venue for boxing. Also, it's like an amphitheatre. And it gives a Colosseum type feel for the fighters. So, I think we've got this uniqueness. And don't forget, back in the day, we had some of the leading fighters back there, Wayne McConnell. You also had Eamon McGee, who fought here late 90s, early 2000s. And we were, as the Waterfront Hall, filling a gap and keeping boxing in Northern Ireland before the likes of what is now the SSE arrived.
Yeah, I mean, as a boxing fan, there's these venues, the likes of York Hall, and that become synonymous with the sport of boxing. Aesthetically, looking out there, it's unique. Yeah, it is a unique venue. When you also think of the money that's being spent and the quality of the building with regards to the acoustics. I mean, I can only imagine with a raucous Belfast crowd what that's going to sound like on these boxing shows for young people that are perhaps, I mean, we're speaking about pathways, but there's several young local people that are making their debut here in the Waterfront Hall, in front of their families, their friends, their coaches, and they come out in a full house and somewhere like that must be what dreams are made of. Definitely,
and it was one of the things that inspired me. So say Jamie and Pody and I got talking early about the concept, and I was really keen to be feeding that grassroots and be that pipeline into the big scene. We're never going to be hosting Tyson Fury and AJ here, but we're going to be helping to generate those fighters of the future. But certainly the thing that landed with me was Lewis Crocker. I seen him, as did you. We bumped into each other that night in the National Football Stadium in front of 20,000 people. And of course, Lewis Crocker made his debut here in front of probably less than 2,000 people 10 years ago. So I really felt that as the gravity of that, and it was one of the things that really propelled me to see the opportunity. Now, as you know, with Jamie, Jamie's a great businessman, and whenever you talk, he's not long in telling you what the opportunities are, explaining the opportunities. So I think we both hit it off in terms of, do you know what, we're onto something here, and we've had our first event a few months back. As the guy said, unfortunately, for young Conor Quinn, who was the main event, it was a Commonwealth fight. He wasn't able to fight that night, and we felt awful for him. He'd been in camp, and then of course he couldn't fight. Great to see him now back in the card for the 26th. So this is the second coming up of what was 3 events planned for 2026. But listen, this is going to grow into the years ahead, and it's also amazing to be seeing the female fighters coming along, the likes of Ella. You and I have both talked about the rise of boxing, but in particular women's boxing, and we heard the guys talk about it. It's just great to be part of that and incubating, Katie Taylor, and what's coming up there. That's going to be an incredible. They talk about Tyson Fury and AJ, but Katie Taylor fighting at Croke Park is going to be epic.
Yeah, even listening to Jamie speaking about his 3 girls, going to do Gaelic blitzes, and there being a infrastructure there for girls to play sport at scale. And now we have a young female boxer from the city making her debut again in a Waterfront. Like, we both love storytelling. Yeah. And from having the conversation about the event, I get the impression from speaking to both you and Jamie that this is a bigger project This is a long-term goal for providing that constant, I suppose, tunnel, that constant pathway for young people to upskill, to put themselves out there, to put Belfast on the map, to put Northern Ireland on the map. And I have a funny feeling it's not just going to be 3 events.
Absolutely no. That is a very good assumption. I would also draw attention to the fact that for us, even outside of sport, in music, in theatre and the arts, we're also trying to do the same type of incubation and support for grassroots. So, in the next week, you'll see productions of things like Shrek here at the Waterfront with theatre schools. We have had the Ulster Orchestra in doing their Crescendo project with the schools just yesterday in the Ulster Hall. Where you're getting school kids coming along and playing with the orchestra. They're playing Star Wars, they're playing E.T., all those, and they're right in the middle, and you wouldn't know who is the professional and who's the kid in terms of who's contributing to that orchestral performance. And we've even seen, in our local communities, the likes of the Black Dog play being done here in terms of highlighting the community issues that are faced in some of the areas. But what I particularly liked was with the chaps was they're of the people. They're humble. They are very normal and down to earth, and when you interact with them, we both know them outside of this, and they tend to be very much about the fans, about the fighters, about how do they help others, how are they going to grow. And I suppose there must be great satisfaction in that, mustn't there, for the likes of Jamie and Pody.
Yeah, from somebody that's looking in on that, there's a uniqueness about it. I would dare say, if we sat down with the boys and their teams, there's probably no other cities in the world that boxer promoter can sit down and have a cup of tea with the CEO of the venue.
Yes.
To say, you have your interests, we have ours, but come on, we actually sit down together and create something for the greater good.
Yes.
For the bigger sport. And I think, hat off to you and your team, because that's exactly what you've done, not just with boxing, but with the school children coming in, with music, with local comedians, with local artists.
Celtic Heart, our destination performance, which, in the Irish News recently was compared to Riverdance. So that was with the Music Yard in Larne, which is a music school, and we've done that as a joint production. But you and I were in a podcast at one of your Breaking Bread events, and I did sort of say at the time, one of my plans was not just to be a receiving house, but also to be, to go and get it, and to be an event creation engine. So we're now creating our own events, and this is, it's creation, co-creation. This is a great example of that. But it all comes back to, I love to use this term, like we're sitting at the heart of a community with the community at heart. It might sound a bit cheesy, but we our ethos is very much driving us and driving our business decisions based on putting the people first. So to hear the guys talk about bringing through talent and doing it in 3s and 4s, and that for me is a success. It feels like success. To your point, there's so much more to do. We can do so much more across all disciplines, and that's what our intentions are.
Does it? I'm assuming it gives you great job satisfaction to see the ripple effect that you're having on different industries by giving them a platform.
Yeah, no, it does. We all need a reason to get out of bed in the morning. And certainly, my career, I had a 30-year career in tech. I ran tech businesses. I brought FDIs into Northern Ireland. I done startups in England. I worked all over the world in my job in South Africa, India. But I've never had the buzz that I have with this role and the sheer determination, because it's all about NIPLC. And yes, we get international acts and international stars coming through, but the ability to actually have an impact locally, and whether it's Panto, where a local kid has come off the stage and they've said, I feel 10 foot tall, things like that, that really gets me, and that's what motivates me and keeps me going. You know, you'll hear Pody talk about how relentless his life is. You know, he's managing all, you know, the four kids, young kids. You know, his wife works, he's working from morning to night. I have that same sort of, you know, long weeks, relentless. And you, Ciaran, and we should draw attention to the Natural Resilience podcast, because resilience is something you specialise in.
Yeah.
But you look at Pody, look at Jamie.
Yeah.
Like, Jamie's on the phone 24/7. He's flying around the world. He'll be off with Lewis to Brisbane shortly. You need to have some serious resilience to do what those guys are doing, don't you?
Yeah. I think when you have the purpose to get up out of bed in the morning, and when you are emotionally attached to what you're doing, resilience comes much easier.
Yeah.
You know, when you're super passionate, when you have the ability to see the pathway and accept that there's going to be ups and downs and obstacles, you keep going, because you see that it's not about you. It's about a much, much bigger picture, whether that's NI PLC, whether that is the next Lewis Crocker, male or female, that can come here and be inspired by fighting in front of 2,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Lewis is a great example. A young working class lad that stepped here, like the backdrop that we're seeing, 10 years later became champion of the world.
Yes.
Like the world champion, like the pinnacle of that sport.
Amazing.
He started here, and what really excites me about your project and the team's project is that whether it's music, whether it's dance, whether it's business, singing, opera, comedy, it's like, come on, let's go. We want to produce more world-class people, and we have the talent. I think what we've been lacking in is the pathways, and now the pathway is here.
Yeah, and the team, you mentioned the team here. The team are bought into that. You know, it's authentic. There's a real will. So it's not just me. It's a whole raft of people who are bought in and facing the same direction. So we will make it a success. We'll make it a huge success. And there's a great deal of comfort in knowing that the likes of Jamie, Pody, you know, we can help them. Like, we can help their businesses. You know, we can help new musicians to get onto the big stage. We can help young aspiring actresses and actors, you know, get their first, you know, big stage moment. Yeah. And I love that. And we work within an ecosystem. You know, we have the Music Centre locally as an example. On the music side, you know, we've started doing things like pre-gigs, where we're taking that talent and we're putting them in before a show. And the next stage really is to get them in then to support acts and make sure that, you know, they're getting that big stage exposure. Yeah. Because, you know, it's a fiercely competitive world for all those boxers coming through, for all those musicians, for all those young actors and actresses, and, you know, and young comedians. You know, you've got to be very special to make it. Yeah. You know, and you need an ecosystem that's well set up, well structured, to give you the best possible chance. But then it's all then down to pure raw talent.
Yeah, talent and determination. But go back to boxing. But you'd said about going from coming in from perhaps the OES Centre to play to enhance the fans' experience, and the next step is a support act. But you actually pulled off something pretty cool with String Ninjas. Yes. As well, where you took them to that next step and put them in front of like a full house in the Ulster Hall. Yeah,
that was an interesting one. So part of our event creation piece is focusing on legacy. So one of our assets is legacy. What's going on at the Ulster Hall? What's going on here? And of course, you know, some very famous bands have played the Ulster Hall. You know, Zeppelin played Stairway to Heaven for the very first time in 1971. You know, you've had the Rolling Stones. You've had so many huge bands. Def Leppard, who are coming to Ormo over the next few weeks. Well, they played the Ulster Hall way back in the 80s. So what we've done is we've set up a number of recreations. Now, these are not tributes. We're recreating, so we'll take a local band. So this one was The Answer, a local band with a following, and we get them to learn the set. So it has to be a very tight match and fit. But then we take people back. So with Zeppelin, we took them back 54 years, and the lighting, everything. Now, I was at the New Whisky Hotel, give them a shout out, the Harbour View up in Carnlough, and I know you're a big fan of their whiskey. And the Ninjas were in the corner, and of course, what were they playing? Stairway to Heaven. So I said to Mick, listen, there's maybe an opportunity here for you. I'll chat to the answer and see if they're comfortable. We'll not allow you to play Stairway to Heaven, because that's going to be the biggest star of the crescendo, the biggest star of the show on the night at the Ulster Hall. And boy, it would have made the hairs in the back of your neck stand up. It was phenomenal, and it was a sold out show. And the media, the rock press said that it was genius, that it was anybody that went was really complimentary. And back in '71, Robert Plant threw his harmonica into the crowd, and a local guy called Conlan Doonan caught it, and he went outside and he sold it to someone else for $5 in '71. Now, I tracked down Conlan Doonan, and I brought him and his wife that night to the Ulster Hall. 54 years later, to recreate, took them backstage, met Cormac and the answer, and obviously Mick and Gav from the String Ninjas. They were overjoyed, and the answer, it was just a privilege for them. There was emotion running very high, because these guys grew up with Zeppelin. So that was the story behind how me being in Conlon one night tasting whiskey as to how the String Ninjas ended up on the stage supporting the answer in what was effectively the first time that's ever been recreated. And it's something that other parts of the world have asked the answer whether they'll go and do it with them.
Well, funny, we spoke with Pody, and what really struck me was his humility.
Mm-hmm.
But same with yourself, and I know you'll be going, don't be going there, but you're very humble as well, because very few people, if any, will be going out for a night out and thinking, I can get these guys an opportunity. There's a local band, String Ninjas, playing in the corner of a hotel. I'm here to enjoy myself out of work. I see something. I'm going to be proactive. I'm going to track down Mr. Doonan that give away that and bring him here and provide him. So I think massive kudos to you as well, because that proactivity with your humbleness, I think, is the main reason and driver why these things are happening, and these experiences for String Ninjas and the local people coming on to make their debuts here at the Waterfront Hall with the boxing shows.
No, I appreciate that, and I suppose for me, I like connecting people, and connecting and making things happen. That's what makes me tick. So it's a natural disposition.
Yeah.
No, so great. We're really looking forward to this episode with Jamie and with Pody.
Yeah, Jamie, with the backdrop here, you fought in this venue before, Waterfront Hall. As you're coming in now, is there any emotions or memories stir up for you?
When we done the first event last time, and we were walking around the change rooms, there was a vivid memory when I had boxed. Paddy Barnes was warming up before me, and I remember just him warming up for hours, felt like hours, and just like sitting laughing at like Harry was warming up and everything he was putting into, and it reminded me when I went into the change room. I remember thinking that was my change room. So like I had a personal connection to the change room, that this is where I kind of warmed up, and you spend that 2 hours of your life before a fight, like worrying, thinking your career's on the line, everything about it, but that kind of connection with the venue, with the fight, with the change room, with the environment around you, definitely did have that feeling. And then just when you're in it, I think it's one of the aesthetically pleasing for TV, but also when you're in the ring and your back is against the wall, it's a great place to be, because it's an amphitheatre. Everyone's down. The vocalness of their cheering is right on you, and it's a great place to fight.
I went through old videos recently. Eamon McGee Senior fighting here against Shay Neary, I think it was, and the commentator several times kept referring to the partisan Belfast crowd, how loud it was. Obviously this venue's built for concerts, and from an audio point of view it's incredible, but can you remember feeling that walking to the ring, that wall of noise?
I remember feeling it when I got put in my arse and then had to get up and everyone's cheering you get up. That's when you needed the people, when you're in the ring and when you're kind of going, your sole focus is on the fight. But when alarm bells and chaos happens, you hear everything and anything, and it's like a mad noise, and I definitely felt that night, and it was great. But bringing it back, I remember the McGee Shainery fight, and I remember how loud and how raucous and how much how vocal it was, and it had felt like it was on top. The Ulster Hall is very similar. Like they're two iconic places for boxing. Ulster Hall's always kind of been the home of boxing, and a real kind of a stalwart for boxing in Belfast. But I do believe the Waterfront Hall has got all the attributes to bring it to a new level with this setup and way it looks, and just how gorgeous it is as a backdrop.
People in the boxing world always refer to Belfast being like one of the fight capitals of the world, and that the fans are so knowledgeable and back their own. Why is that? Can you kind of articulate why Belfast is so passionate about the sport of boxing?
I do think it does come from the working class communities here in Belfast and across Northern Ireland as a whole. You know, especially where we grew up from in West Belfast, like it was part of your your growth and your transition into teenage years and whatnot is to go to the boxing club. You went to youth clubs, football clubs and boxing clubs, and every area kind of had one, and that was kind of part of your childhood, and you everyone done it. You went through a phase, and people didn't stick to it, and they kind of went and they messed around, but everyone went through that phase of going to the boxing club. And I think like from our youth it's just ingrained into you, and it's just something that like if you look at West Belfast alone, the amount of clubs on one road, like compare it to some places I go to in London, some places I go to around the UK, and like we have just got so much strength and depth where they are so stretched and stuff. So we're lucky in that instance, and I think it's how people above us, grandparents and people, parents, grandparents, and people before them, they pride themselves on boxing and the fighting. So when you were in school and you were a boxer, you were given a wee bit more. There was a bit of a status with that when you were doing well in boxing. People did give you like did open doors for you and did make sure you avoided the pitfalls of society because they wanted you to do well in boxing. Boxing was seemed to be an escape. I felt, especially in my life, we escaped through the boxing club on a Friday night. You evaded all the pitfalls of what could have came as a teenager because you were in the gym and you were training, and the respect of the community it came with that. Like it did come with it.
Have you reflected, Jamie, kind of that full circle moment in that people were looking out for you and nudging you to stay within boxing, and now you're providing a platform for young athletes to do the same by allowing them to make their debuts in places such as the Waterfront Hall? Yeah,
definitely. I think without my knowledge, like people were helping a pathway for me, for my brothers to kind of do well. You know, you were given opportunities which like you didn't realise at the time that. You know, you always think, especially as a boxer, and boxing is, you think it's just one person in the ring, but it's not. The environment around you creates you. The environment around you helps create a pathway and helps kind of form opportunities for you. What we've been doing for the past load of years has been also trying to form opportunities for these young fighters coming through. Belfast boxing as a professional boxing is at an all-time high right now. When I was coming through as a professional boxer, it was too few and far between. There wasn't great opportunities, there wasn't great events, there wasn't a grassroots of professional boxing. Now we have that. Now we have a platform where for young amateurs can see where they can go. Their young amateurs can see a stage and a stepping stone where they can get to become world champion. They've seen various different people from their own community, you know, Lewis Crocker, Anthony Kakachi, Carl Frampton, from the same kind of communities of where they came from, getting opportunities to go on to become world champion. But to get to that stage, you need a pathway. You need a clear set route to kind of go and build a fan base, build an opportunity, build a persona in the professional games that people can relate to.
I think Lewis Crocker's a great example because he's obviously went on to become world champion, and he debuted here, I believe, in Waterfront Hall, through the support and the infrastructure of that pipeline. How important is that infrastructure for a young athlete start maybe transitioning from amateur to professional with big dreams, big aspirations? I suppose my question is, how do businesses and communities and venues like this help young athletes kind of progress?
It's essential, because especially from, if you add it all in together, from the promoter, from the manager, and from the boxer, you need a pathway where, okay, you're going to start your career. Where are you going to start? How can you manoeuvre? Who's going to be headlining? We have a city now where we have guys who are able to draw in 2,000 people to come, where you can create off the back of him, where you're building your own career. Every fighter thinks, like, no matter if they're, on Friday the 26th, every guy on the card thinks they're the main event. Like, they know the position on the card, but in their head, all that matters is their fight. However, you need the guy at the top to keep winning, so everyone else kind of not piggybacks, but gets opportunities on the back of that. And what we have been trying to create with Rob, and when we sat down with the Waterfront Hall, we said initially for a three fight on the first year, but to create a pathway where we're going to give a next generation of guys an opportunity to headline in the Waterfront Hall and build a career and build a profile and build titles and create the prestigious titles, the Commonwealth titles, the British titles, to bring to here in Belfast. But off the back of that, they're going to be bringing 9 other fighters on the undercard through, who'll have opportunities not on this one, but the next one, or the next one next year. And that's kind of what we set down. It's a real career building. It's an opportunity where we're giving continuous fights to fighters that need them. They need to progress. They need to learn. They need to grow. If we went straight away to the Odyssey, they wouldn't get them opportunities, or the bigger fights where you're getting put in. If the bigger promoter come in from the UK, you're being put in, and you're not getting an opportunity to grow, to learn. You're straight into the deep end, and in a fight which as a promoter they need the big fights and the 50-50 fights where you're not ready for, because you haven't had the grounding, the schooling, the learning phase where we're given here now.
Obviously, Pody's headlining the fight on the 26th here. Are you already looking at people making their debut and thinking there's a pathway for them to go for titles that kind of move way beyond Northern Ireland? Yeah,
well, we've already set it out in this one. So, like, Pody will headline here, but there's 2 guys on the undercard who, if they come through, both win, they'll continue the shows for the next foreseeable. So them 2, if they keep winning, they'll keep moving. If one was to lose, the one will go. We keep building in 2s and 3s. We have then, so we have 3 different tiers. We have the debutants and the guys who are learning the 2, 3 and O's. So they're building, and they're getting activity, and they're building the records, but they're also building the fan base off the back of Pody and so on and so forth. But then you have that mid-tier where we have the likes of Donna Carey and people like Lex West and people like that who are 6, 7, 8 and 0, aren't ready to headline, aren't ready to take that big opportunity, but are growing into that. So they're getting real learning, testing fights, because next time they're going to be in a big 50-50 opportunity. And then you have the likes of Conor Quinn and Theo Allen, people like that who are on the cusp of big things but not getting the opportunity elsewhere. Yeah. So we're giving them opportunity where they're headline next.
As you're talking, I'm kind of thinking how important it is to people to buy tickets and come, because they're not coming just to watch a show. They're kind of supporting a legacy as well for young fighters. I know now, like, a lot of fights are streamed online, but it's a different thing entirely to come and watch it in-house. You're not just getting the customer experience, but you're kind of supporting the legacy of boxing here in Belfast.
Yeah, promotion in boxing usually, and the bigger promoters, it's like it's a bit like the travelling roadshow. It's a bit like a circus. They come into the city, it's all the razzmatazz. They set up the big event, and then they pack up and they go. The people who are left wanting and waiting are the paying public, and also the fighters, the grassroots fighters who were helping to sell and build that event for the bigger promoter, and they kind of just get left on the sideline. Where we have kind of said it's something different is we are planting our seed and planting our base here in Belfast, not for hit it and quit it. We're here to grow something for the long term. We're here to grow something for fighters, whether they're with us or not with us. We work with other managers and promoters to build and to grow. But it's to keep this pathway going for the next few years, so we can have another Lewis Crocker and Anthony Kakachi, and this is where they get their grounding and understanding of the game and the learning.
Have you thought about the legacy piece, Jamie, of obviously you've had an exceptional couple of years with Lewis, becoming world champion. Are you thinking, would you love to go through that whole pathway again yourself with somebody maybe going from debuting here and taking them to the pinnacle of the sport once again?
Bits and pieces. When I was boxing, my sole focus is to become world champion. When I failed to become world champion, I knew when I walked back to that training room, that's me finished, because I can't become world champion. Why am I doing it if I can't be a world champion? From that moment onwards, my next goal was to manage a world champion. Last year in Windsor Park, I achieved that goal. We have done 3 or 4 world title fights as promoters. We could classify Pody as another world champion. He won an IBO world title in Frankfurt in Germany. But the next phase probably is bringing someone from scratch, seeing them on these cards and sharing the experience. Half the battle is the experience of who you're in the trenches with. Hence why Pody is a friend for life, because when you're in the trenches with Pody, you feel like we're in it together. And when you're doing things with someone like Pody and fighters like that, you develop a close relationship with. And that's kind of what it is. It's just all about who you're working with, Ciaran. Personalities and experiences going through with the people in the trenches. And these young kids, if they're growing and learning on these cards, and if they make it in 5, 6, 7 years' time, it would be unbelievable. You have
a young girl making her debut as well on the 26th. Is that right? Ella?
Pody manages Ella,
incredible story. Obviously this week Katie Taylor's just been announced. Croke Park. The rise of female sport across the world, all sport, has been sensational. Do you think we'll start to see the ripple effect with that in female boxing here in Belfast and Northern Ireland too?
I think female boxing in Ireland as a country is carrying, especially the amateurs. Our best boxers are the female boxers. Most historic boxers, Katie and Kelly Harrington. Kelly Harrington is a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. Katie created amateur boxing, female amateur boxing in Chicago at the World Championships. Her and her father, are probably, when we look back in 20, 30 years' time, we'll probably remember more for our female fighters than our male fighters. They have carried the flag for the country, but also for the boxing, for boxing in a whole. Up here, Commonwealth Games, you're probably expecting all the women to bring back medals, and at the Olympics as well. They are leading the way, and it's a fantastic achievement. It's a fantastic testament that something that's so young, they've only been at it for a good few years, not nowhere near what the men have. But I think on the pro scene, you'll see more and more. I think a ripple effect will definitely become of that. And female sport, I have 3 daughters. My daughter plays Gaelic, and when I was a kid, none of the girls played Gaelic. None of the girls played sport. None of the girls kind of competed with us. They would have played with you on the street, but there was no pathway, no avenue for them to compete in sport. The only girl I ever knew who played sport was Jane Adams, and that was because she was in the back of the Annie News every day. So, whereas now, you go to an under 10s Saturday blitz with girls, and it's insane. And you go to any boxing club now, you will see a young girl in there learning her craft.
It's great to see across all sports, particularly boxing, particularly here in Belfast as well. Both our young boys and our young girls kind of enter in that pathway. They're also entering into the business world behind the scenes. We kind of spoke about the importance of selling tickets and being marketable. How much of boxing is entertainment? And I know when you look at Netflix and Jake Paul, there's people that kind of turn their nose up at it, particularly the purists. But from a promotional point of view, how is there a percentage that you would maybe say which is entertainment as opposed to just sport?
I love amateur boxing probably more than I love professional boxing, because I think that's boxing in its purest
sport
form.
Okay.
Purest form. When you look at that, then you go, that's the world champion as an amateur is the best boxer in the world. But when you come into the professional game, it is more entertainment, and it is more business, and it is more it is more of razzmatazz. There is more lights and glitz and glamour, and you might not have to be the best boxer in the world to become a world champion, but you have to have people. The one thing people have to care, whether that's for you or against you. They have to care whether you win or you lose. Like they have to have an emotional, personal connection or some kind of vested interest in your fight and in why you're fighting. They need. We're all in it. We understand the cost of living at this one time is always tough. So for someone to put their hand in the pocket and to pay to come and watch you box or to pay for a pay-per-view, they need to feel like I need to want him to win or I need to really want him to lose.
People want to feel part of a story, don't they?
It's a storytelling game. It's like this business is a real storytelling business. Pody McCrory, I think, is probably one of the people here when you come into like Belfast boxing, who didn't have the glitz and glamour of a professional or a big amateur career and wasn't well known, didn't get to the Commonwealth Games, didn't get to the Olympic Games, but had got that. He was a blue collar, like one of the people, had created a cult following from day dot. When he boxed in the Devonish, and he done a trial to kind of sign him. His crowd was the loudest crowd in the room. When you're saying about people emotionally invested and people, the connection to it, that was what I think. We followed him. He followed right through from the small hall scene where he had to sell tickets in the Devonish, and he had to kind of go on the road to the big nights in Orlando, Florida, to the big nights in the SSC Arena. Like that's like they are with you. So when you're selling tickets, people, boxing is very personal. It's not like a football team. It's not like your GAA team. It's a one-on-one connection. And that's one thing we've been learning with Rob and Peter and stuff at the Waterfront is boxers need to sell tickets themselves because they need to go, like they know everyone who's coming to watch them. They know Ciaran's coming, Peter's coming, John's coming, everyone's coming, and everyone's coming to watch them. One thing we're trying to create now is to make sure, they're coming to watch Conor on the undercard, but stay to watch Pody and be emotionally connected to that. And that's something we're learning and growing from. But especially here, it's like it's an extension of a family or an extension of a friendship, but the people are coming, they're coming to support you right through the thick times and the hard times.
We're going to go on to Pody's story, which is incredible. Mm-hmm. But before we do, how do you teach that storytelling expertise to somebody that's just starting out? Because like the Cinderella Man, you hear different things. People are invested in Pody. Mm-hmm. And have travelled to Germany and spend their money and come and buy tickets and very vocal, very passionate, and no doubt on the 26th you'll hear, see and experience that. But how do you communicate the importance of that? Can you even communicate the importance of that to a young person that's maybe just wants to fight, that's maybe come from the amateur ranks and they're thinking, I just need to show up and win, and now there's maybe a conversation that needs to happen. You need to get people behind you or against you, but ultimately you need to start telling your story.
Times have changed, whereas I think 10 years, bit more, the media would have created that for you. So like my moniker was the Mexican. I'd never call myself the Mexican in my life. Never knew why. I thought I couldn't speak a word of Spanish. I do speak Spanish now, and it wasn't because of that. It's because I deal with a lot of Mexicans. But I got labelled that. That wasn't from me or anyone around me. That was the me. That was David Kelly at the Belfast Telegraph. Like that was, you were given different things, and the media was a massive player. We have lost that the paper media, and we've lost that kind of connection, especially with boxing because it's more of a niche sport.
Yeah.
Football is still connected, and of course like that, and the big fights when you got AJ and Fury, and when all the eyeballs are on, and Katie and Croak, you'll have all the papers there and stuff. Whereas now we're in a social media world, you have a lot more control of your own narrative, and you can create your own narrative. The social media game is something I'm not great at, but it's something that the younger lads and the younger girls are 10 times better than me. You need to be very active on social media. You need to be so much, so probably sickening to an extent, but you need to give someone to create it. Like you need to make people want to understand, like want to know and want to get. You need to be out there, and it needs to be constant on social media. You need to be ramming it down people's throats that you are fighting, because they may not give a crap till now, but you got to make them give a crap. You have to make them understand why this is a big deal. boys now are very, very good. Like the younger lads and girls, they are just constantly pumping, constantly putting things out. They need to be like the opportunity now with social media is created is they can see right in. You can show the whole world. We're here now. You can see right in the backstage. You can open the doors and show behind the scenes footage and constant thing. Access that was never accessible when I was younger.
It's social media for its positive aspect. It's almost storytelling at scale, isn't it? Just opening your kind of curtains to say, this is me, this is what I'm about. I think you've done that really, really well over the years, Pody. You've been very authentic, I think, with your storytelling, where it's not trying to put out headlines. You've just said, this is me, and embraced kind of the small shows, and then very humble in many ways about coming onto the bigger shows and knocking people out, and I think your fan base has really bought into your authenticity and your humility along your journey. But as you come back for the last dance on the 26th, it's really, really interesting, because the first show here, you weren't here as a fighter, so to speak. You were here with Jamie, co-promoting and managing. How does it feel, the difference between those roles? What's more stressful?
I think just like you're saying, like from the start, from fight 1 to fight 22 now, I don't think I've changed as a person. I think I've been authentic from the start, like to now, and as Jimmy was saying, like in terms of ticket selling, I went and met every person individually. I met them and greeted them and just was like myself with them, and I think that's why I've grew. I actually never like to speak about them as fans, because like to me they're not that. They're people that like now support me. So yeah, listen, as so you were saying about what you would teach people, just be authentic, be yourself. I get like the scale. I see people like toxic, like this morning, Joe Laws, who's insane, he's mad and he's funny to watch, and I buy into him because he's nuts. But people buy into me because like I haven't changed and I'm the same person. But my first show here was actually Lewis Crocker's debut. I had just signed pro. I was due to fight at the SSC on Ryan Burnett's undercard, and I came and watched Lewis' debut, and he had a great knockout. And that night was one of the best fights I'd ever watched live. It was John O'Carroll and is it Quigley?
John Quigley.
Johnny Quigley, and I watched that fight here, and it's a fight that will always stick with me. The noise was amazing. The fight was amazing. But like most recently, I was here like on the last show. We had a bit of drama with losing our main event and stuff, but coming in after like a long day and seeing the show and getting the help like from all the guys behind the scenes, I was glad to get over the line. As Jamie says, it's about giving the rest of the fighters that opportunity, and the fight in such a great venue, it's beautiful. Is what I want to then move on to.
Now that you're here kind of as a fighter for this show, The Last Dance, has it give you a different perspective? Kind of, you were here last time as a promoter. Has it give you a different perspective with regards to kind of the opportunity that debutants have, that maybe making the most of platforms and working with promoters and the onus on the fighter to kind of sell tickets? You have probably a very privileged position in that you're seeing both sides of the 26th. You know what it looks like from the back end, promoting it and managing, and now here you are again in the ring.
Yeah, so it's probably part of the reason why I'm fighting again, because I'm in the position like where I was able to do that, and like thankfully it's Jamie and Waterfront to give us this sort of space and opportunity and venue. So we've always struggled with like the middle venue. So we've always had the small hall and the SSC. Then in between that, you have the Ulster hall, which is it's a big hub for boxing, but it's only 1,000 people. So we need it more than that, and I think this is the place for that. I think you're getting 2,200 people in here, which is a place for me to have the opportunity to then finish my career, but it also gives opportunities to the Quinns and the Allens to start the main event these middle of the road boxing venues, to where you're getting in the great numbers. It looks really nice. It looks great for TV, and I've enjoyed this part of boxing, but it's given me the opportunity to where I can now like finish my career on my terms, and it's a privilege.
I love that, finishing on your terms. But is it the last dance? Is this the last we're going to see Pody McCrory in the ring?
I think it is. I don't want to paint a false picture as well, because like we spoke about it, that Katie Taylor's fighting at Croke Park, and there's been a few mentions would I fight in that, and I think it would be mad to say that I wouldn't. Now, I'm not going to fight on it just to have a fight. There's 2 or 3 names there that I would only fight who are around my age, who activity are like fairly similar like to where I am. So that's the type of fight that I would take. It's very unlikely, so I think I'd be 90% sure that this is my last dance. And until Katie Taylor was announced, this was my last dance. But it's such a big event.
Yeah.
It's such a massive event. The last person to fight at Croke Park was Muhammad Ali. Katie Taylor's like, she's an icon. She like as I said, she's been carrying Irish boxing for a long time. Her and Michael and now Lewis Crocker. But if I got the opportunity to fight a Luke Keeler or Jason Quigley on a show like that, I would be mad to say no.
Well, let me ask you a different. If this was to be your last dance here in the Waterfront Hall, looking back on your career, would you be content?
Very much so. Yeah. Like I've always said, that I feel like I've probably like overachieved. People like will say, why though? Like, why get on the boxing if you don't think you're going to go to the very top? And I think if you look back at my amateur career, it was very stop start. I never wanted, not that I never wanted to go to the Olympics, but I never worked hard enough to achieve something like that. So I was always in and out of it. And when I signed pro back in 2017, I was kind of thinking, if I win an Irish title, a main event at the Devonish, that's kind of like my ceiling, and I'd be like really proud of that. And still to now, I've never become the champion of Ireland, which is strange. But I would be very content. I'm very happy with how my 9 years as of yesterday, as a pro, has went.
You mentioned hard work, and I know you're a busy father, and also looking after other fighters. Can you give us an insight into what, like, the sacrifices and the hard work that's involved with losing weight and gaining fitness and going into probably a training camp that lasts several weeks? Yeah,
so like my son's going to be 9 in January, and so when we found out that my wife was pregnant, it kind of gave me, as I said, I stopped and start boxing, but once I found out that she's pregnant, my first thought was I need to do something to make my family proud, and I just signed pro boxing, and I was like, I'm going to give us like a real go. So from then, 9 years ago, I've had 4 kids, or we've had 4 kids, so it's been extremely busy, and I've had 21 fights, and I'm now like stepping on the side of managing and co-promoting. So it's been really busy, and especially this camp has been a bit difficult because of time. I wake up at 5:20 in the morning, I go to work, I finish work at 10, I go to the gym at 11, I then go back to do 2 school runs because the kids are different ages, and then I go back into work in the evening. And thankfully I've a very supportive wife who also works full time, but is able to do like the sports events like football, like water polo and stuff like that. So without like the help from my wife, I don't think I would be able like to have my last fight on my terms. But because she's there and she's so supportive, not that she wasn't a big supporter of me actually like wanting to fight for one more time, because she's seen my last couple of camps I just wasn't there. But something's lit the fire, the last event here, and seeing it and seeing the venue, something lit the fire that I wanted to do this, and now that I'm in it, I'm all in, and I'm really looking forward to it.
It probably means a lot to you to have your family's blessing to go and do this one last time. If it is one last time, you train, you physically prepare, but from a mindset and a mentality point of view, Pody, you're seasoned in many ways. You're very experienced fought in front of big cameras, the big stadiums. Do you still get nervous? Like, will you be in the changing room feeling like anxiety or nervousness before you walk out here? Like, do you still have to process that as a fighter?
Yeah, I do. I fight night nerves wouldn't be a massive thing for me, but it's the lead up to it. I fight myself every day with doubt, and I'd be slightly pessimistic. Slightly is probably I overthink everything, and always think. Sometimes I think the worst, and I've went to different people like Michael Jared and different like coaches that try and help with that and work on visualization, like visualizing the event and I'm winning and what I can do to make myself better, and them things have helped like massively. But there's always that wee seed of doubt there, and that's been a challenge. But as you say, I've done it now for 9 years, and I've learned how to deal and adapt with that, and fighting nerves has never been a massive thing for me. I like my changing room to be calm and relaxed, and I don't like drama and hate. So that it's not a massive factor for me.
Well, how wonderful is it going to be if a young fighter in your stable is dealing with those nerves and kind of self-doubt, for you to say, well, I've experienced that for 9 years, here's what's worked with me, and for you to be able to kind of be an ally for them working through that?
Yeah, so that's why I got into management as well, because like as Jamie said, I got lucky that my first fight was at the SSC, but after that I had to take a step back to like the small hall boxing and ticket deals, and that experience that I think I can pass on to like my own managed fighters, which I have done now. It's going to be the same experience that I can pass on to them that I've had with nerves and doubt and working on like your own self belief. I see people that are just extremely bulletproof, that they're always 100% and they're on the ball, and I've never been that person. I've kind of been a bit more what ifs and caring a bit more about what like other people think. So I can pass that experience on and try and help my fighters plus other fighters. I speak daily with different managed fighters and different people and try and give like the best advice that I can.
I love your perspective on it, Pody, and I think it's only fitting that on the 26th there's going to be a full house here, kind of shouting and roaring and cheering you on and showing you appreciation of the memories you've given them over the past 9 years. But they ask you, like, as you reflect on those 9 years, what's stood out? Like, what has been the highlights? Is there a couple of moments you could maybe let us know that makes you the proudest?
Do you know what? I seen a photograph from the time that I was main event at the SSC, and I was with my wife and my son standing watching the fight, and he's like everything crossed, and at first I was like, frig, I'm traumatized that wee lad. but then after, then he get into the ring, and it was the first that he's ever got in the ring with me and like all my fights, and seeing him and seeing the smile and he was so proud and like telling all his friends that that's my daddy. That's made me that's been like a memory that's going to live with me. But a big memory would be in Germany when I just won the fight, and I ran to the corner and looked out and seen like hundreds of my friends and family, like all filled full of joy. Seeing that and seeing that I created that moment for them, and it was a special night.
The moments like that, Pody, when you kind of think of the weeks and months of sacrifice and hard work in the early mornings and leaving the kids to go and train, does it make it worthwhile when you get to experience that? Most definitely.
So we spoke earlier, like I've missed family holidays, family events, family weddings, friends stag do's, friends weddings, and as much as it's big moments in their lives and my own life, I don't think in moments like Germany, even like Florida, like I brought 150 people like to Florida, they'll watch me fight. Moments like that, I think it's been all worth it.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Jamie, Pody's very humble, and I think that's why a lot of people are attracted to him as a fighter, but as his friend, as you reflect on his career, I mean, it's been remarkable. What has it given you as a colleague, a friend? Some incredible nights, but as you kind of reflect and sum up Paddy's career, I mean, how does it compare? Because it just seems absolutely remarkable.
People don't very shy, very coy, and what he touched on being pessimistic. Geez, he's the most pessimistic guy I've ever met in my life. He's chicken little, like he thinks the world is falling down, but which is good because I'm very optimistic. So we balance it out in that essence. But he took so much risks at the start of his career, and he is being very humble on it. Where he was having to sell tickets, but I remember having to call him a night before a fight, after the weigh-in, the night before a fight, and ask him. Like a fight fell through, and TV needed this real big push, and I said, Paddy, your fight has fell through, and this who was his local rival as an amateur, Michael McGlinchey, Sean McGlinchey, went to the Commonwealth Games in place of Paddy. It was a very controversial decision, and it says, Paddy, and we were building the fight up, but it got the way things all fell in place. We had to do it on the next night, or it was proposed to them on the next night. And to both of their credits, not just Paddy, like they took a massive leap of faith and a massive risk on that night in the Titanic Quarter just to go and have to fight each other. It's something that we could have built for a wee bit longer, and some fighters would have been protective of their records and stuff like that, where he seized every opportunity that was given to him and understood. Like, he turned pro in the year I retired, and I think he's older than me, but he's not. He denies it. So like he turned pro in the year I retired, and but he took so much opportunities. There were there was nights that you were going. My own friends were going, Paddy's going to lose this one. We done a fight in the Falls Park, and he fought this Russian, and all week I was looking at this Russian going, and I kept saying to Paddy, like, just be ready. But he had this weird, like laid back confidence that he was going to be. But it was these are some of the nights that he has give. Like, me personally has been some of the best nights in my group. As he talks about Germany, I've never bolted and slid under a ring, and that night we were like screaming just like because we were so up against it. We and the whole story of Germany, he was preparing for a different fight, and probably giving away too much trade secrets here, but. Like we were preparing for a different fight, and I get a call. Like, was it 4 weeks' notice, maybe 5 weeks' notice?
5 weeks' notice.
5 weeks' notice. But he was in the gym already, and Callis or Mrs. Sauerland had rung and said, Jamie, can we get Pody McCrory the move up a weight? And I says no, he's not fit, he's not hing, and put the phone down. And waited for about 30 minutes, and then called him back and was like, what are you looking here? Like, had rung Paddy, says, here, we could get this German, and I think you can beat this Leon Boone. It's an opportunity for a world title. And he had said, let's do it. So I run back, and we acted all, come on, like, we're not fit, we're overweight, there's a weight above, come on. Different things like that, and we got the fight, and we got what we wanted financially, and we got everything we wanted. I says, Paddy, you're going to go in flat. Now, he thought I didn't think he was going to win, because as soon as the fight was over, he came over and went, I told you I was going to win, you didn't believe in me. I says, what?
We might have to edit this bit out with all the secrets coming out here.
But like that night in Germany was unbelievable. Going to Florida against Edgar Berlanga with the massive knockout streak that he had, and like, even just seeing his name, we walked into like a media workout thing, and it just had Pody McCrory's big face everywhere, flying around on a ticker tape, and you're just going, like, this is class. Like, but it's because he took risks, and people don't realise how much risks he took. He put his career on the line a lot for very little, but he understood that if he wins, how much I can propel and how quickly I can get into this. He said, I've got a very short window of making it work. He's ended up boxing longer than I did as a pro, and he's dragged this window out a lot longer, because I was hoping he was going to retire a while ago and continue to jump into this stuff, but we joke about it, but Pete in the Waterfront Hall, after a debrief of the last one, convinced him to do the next one. So the Waterfront Hall is playing a big part in Pody McCrory's career at the end, but he's given us some unbelievable nights. Falls Park against Steve Woodall was one of the best fights I'd watched. And then you hear all the horror stories of camp after. He's put it all on the line for people coming to watch him, and like, he is a true like Cinderella kind of man. He is a working class blue collar man, very humble, like everything you said there, he remains the same person as he was at the very start. So he's given unbelievable experiences, and some trips that we've been away on have been like memories of a lifetime.
I'm going to finish by asking you both the same question, but before I do, Paddy, I've personally watched you in the Ulster Hall, in the SSE, and so on behalf of a lot of people kind of watching and listening to this, thank you for the memories, if it is the last dance. Yeah. But my last question, we'll ask the same question, start with you, Jamie. As the lights go down and everyone leaves the Waterfront Hall on the 26th, what does a successful night look like?
It looks like our home boxers winning in real 50-50 fights. We have Paddy Gallagher against Graham McCormick, which is a genuine crossroads fight. Whoever loses that fight will retire. That's the last dance on its own. And a local guy, Paddy Gallagher, who's on a renaissance story himself, has got his own comebacks trail. Conor Quinn in a real 50-50. It was supposed to be in a main event last time against Jake Dodd. It got pulled on the day, an unprecedented event in terms of British boxing that had ever happened before, for the reasons why. Them two coming back with a bit of grudge and needle in between it, and Theo Allen and Rob Coswell, which I think could steal the show. If all our guys win, we continue this process going forward. We continue Belfast boxing and continue churning out champions, and we continue building for the future. But last but not least, Paddy, just being able to sit with his kids, with his family, with Taisha, and everyone happy and content that this is the end after. We said it's the last dance. I think Bob Arm once said yesterday I was lying to them, telling the truth when it comes to things. It is I hope it is the last dance for him, but I would love it to be very content in the change room and everyone happy and celebrating that this is the end.
And Paddy, even that kind of thought, you sitting with your wife and kids after, again, same question to yourself. What does a successful night look like for you?
I think, on a personal note, it's my last performance. I feel like I let everyone down because I knew I shouldn't have been in that ring, and I just got there and I got it done, and I tried to survive the whole fight and move. So I want to go out on my shield or put in a great performance for everybody that's came and seen me from like Davenage like the now. So that's a personal, but secondary. I just want everybody leaving here happy. Walking out the door saying that they had a great night, and that's the end of the road, and we're done.
Fantastic, lads. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Rob, we've spoke with Jamie and Paddy. It was the perfect mix of humour, insights. Paddy's very, very humble. I mean, it's a remarkable career. Jamie had an amazing career as well. And actually, I forgot Jamie fought here in the Waterfront Hall.
Yeah,
along his journey.
Yeah,
he fought here. What was your main takeaways from listening to manager, promoter, boxer, and their ambition, which really struck out their ambition for this series?
Well, I love it. I love it because it's so aligned to my own aspirations, which we've talked about. But I love the memories. Jamie mentioned, that was his dressing room. The smell.
Yeah.
And yourself, you remember the smell of sweet shops. You remember there's things at times where you catch a smell of something that takes you way back. So I love that. I love the humbleness of the guys and how they're just of the people. They're working class, and they made that really good example of boxing's typically a working class sport. So therefore people are coming and they've a reason and a motivation, to move through. So that was certainly one of my big takeaways, was that where this engine kind of gets its fuel.
Yeah.
And it's the working class. And, over the years we've seen Carframpton, we've seen, Lewis, we've seen a whole range. They all come from working class backgrounds, including the guys themselves. But name me a boxer that's not come from that. So that really came clear to me in terms of that. And then, okay, we're creating a pathway. I love the term pathway. Like, everybody needs a pathway in their life when they're a kid. Like, coming through school, what's your pathway going to be? And to hear Jamie and Paddy talk about pathways, it's a very structured, formal. You hear that now around apprenticeships and people leaving school. What's the pathways? So we're professionalising that whole piece.
Yeah.
And and obviously they also touched on, it's big business, the business of boxing. It's a difficult business, but you can be very successful in it, and we've seen people go on to do punditry. See people like the guys go on to do management and promotion. Yeah. So there are careers in it beyond the ring.
Yeah, I liked how Jamie said that the pathway didn't really exist, so to speak, when he was coming up through the ranks. You almost had to, was it Tyson Fury coming over to fight somewhere big, and you kind of had to hope that you were one of a very small number of local boxers that got onto a big bill. But perhaps sometimes the fighters' interests weren't really in the mix. No. Whereas now, like for me, the main takeaway was the longevity of this. Yes. So it's about stacking it. Pody, the last dance, potentially his last ever fight, but straight away they're thinking we'll put Conor Quinn up to headline the next one. Yeah. We have 2 or 3. Like there's a constant conveyor belt of local talent. I love that longevity piece.
But it takes serious knowledge and understanding and vision. Identifying who's coming through. Are they going to be good enough? Yeah. And as he said about bringing them through in groups. Yeah. I also love the fact, that recognition of boxing's become there's a lot of razzmatazz now with boxing. Yeah. And we all love it. Yeah. Let's be honest, UFC boxing, there's a razzmatazz that goes with it, and we're addicted to it. Yeah. But Jamie used that term about, amateur, is boxing in its finest form. I love that. Yeah. I love that. That's where you're seeing pure boxing. Yeah. The rest, as you move forward and get into those big stadiums, big arenas, Jake Paul's, Tyson Fury's, there's a lot of showmanship and razzmatazz.
Yeah, and there'll be boxing purists maybe kind of tuning into this going, did he just mention Jake Paul and Tyson Fury in the same sentence? But exactly. It's the irony of it's the reality of the business of boxing, and the lads refer to storytelling. Yeah. About telling the story of these young boxers, and of course Pody's story is incredible. And Cinderella Man, people refer to him. Yeah. 9 years, 20 odd professional fights. Extremely humble.
Extremely.
But imagine being a young fighter, and you and the team and this venue are providing a platform, but you have Jamie and Pody in your corner with all that experience, all the setbacks, all the knowing the intricacies of the sport. It's almost, for me, from the outside looking in, having the conveyor belt, having yourselves as the supporting venue, having Jamie and Pody as the managers and promoters. It's almost like a match made in heaven. Yeah. For the young boys and girls of Belfast, Northern Ireland, to kind of progress in sport.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you've got to have that one. You've got to have if there's a will, there's a way. Yeah. But you've got to have the expertise, and we do events. That's our expertise. Yeah. And whether it's a music event, a comedy event, a business event, or a boxing event, we are specialists in hosting events, and people don't often see what goes on. I think Jamie alluded to it just slightly about the amount of work that goes into putting an event on, from the planning to the selling of tickets and the marketing and comms around it, to the event delivery on the night. The number of people that will be in this building who are not there just as spectators, in terms of front of house staff, in terms of security, in terms of lighting and tech, all hospitality, a whole range of people, and those are don't forget, those are jobs. So the other side of this is the economic impact of events. Yeah. So as much as this is socially impactful and bringing the kids through, I talk about kids, but some of them are not kids anymore. Yeah. If you think then of, there's actually kids behind the bar who are studying, or there's people there who are in retirement and they need some additional income. There's all sorts of people that this event or series of events will support here locally. So I take great pride in that. And it's important for us. Security and safety is of paramount so it doesn't matter if it's a music event or a sporting event like boxing. We put a lot of effort into maintaining that safety and security. And with boxing in particular, we've obviously got more of a focus on medical. We have that very well rehearsed and worked in terms of it's a dangerous sport. it can be a tough sport. Therefore, we take all precautions when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think as a customer who's coming to the show with his 12-year-old son, I think the professionalism. I think there's a certain nostalgia about going into Belfast city centre, the big fish, the lagoon, seeing the cranes in the background, into the Waterfront Hall and it opening up.
Yeah.
And everything's clean, modern, fan friendly, customer friendly. Whether you're going with a friend, a partner, a child, it's fantastic as the customer.
Yeah.
And much to your point about the economic input, that's something that really interests me, because I'm assuming, and you may know the answer to this, but I'm assuming there's a massive knock-on effect with restaurants, pubs, taxis, hotels,
Absolutely.
even people coming in from the south, from GB.
Any of our venues, Ulster Hall, Waterfront, the ICC Belfast, if we've an event on, we are feeding the city. We have an international conference coming next week, 2,000 people. That'll be 8,000 bed nights. So you work that out just in bed nights alone. The amount of food that gets consumed, the transportation, the gifts that are bought to take back to whatever. And there is a big focus on out-of-state and attraction of out-of-state visitors for Northern Ireland for that reason. So we play a very big part in that. We have teams who are out there internationally and nationally trying to pull that business into Northern Ireland. And it's competitive.
I'd say so. Highly
competitive. And sporting events and music events, similarly, we've got to go out and get those and work with all the key promoters.
Yeah.
You mentioned Aiken Promotions, Shine, MCD. These are all partners of ours that help us, to bring those big events.
Yeah. I suppose it's an incredible, and I'm actually really looking forward from a storytelling perspective about what this podcast is going to bring. This behind the curtains peek at what is a really exciting industry. It's supposed to bring it back to the 26th of June, the last dance with Jamie and Pody. I would love to ask you the same closing question that I asked the boys, which is when the lights go off that night and everyone's went home, as the CEO of this venue and somebody that's emotionally invested in this project, what does success look like to you at the end of that night?
I think first and foremost it's safety, and that everybody goes home in one piece, especially with a boxing event. So I'll be very happy whenever I know that the fights have taken place, that nobody has been seriously injured, that it's a positive outcome.
Yeah.
I think that's first and foremost. I think then we're in the business of lasting memories and lasting experiences. We create them. For me, ultimately, this is entertainment. And I want those that come, young or old, male or female, to have lasting experiences when they come to our venues. So that night, when people go away, you want them to have those lasting experiences, not just the customers that are sitting in the seats, because we have more than one customer here. Obviously, the promoters are our customers, the artists are our customers, the fighters are our customers. So we want, as Jamie mentioned about, there was no feeling like it when he was in the Waterfront Hall. His back was against the ropes. Yeah. I was wincing when he was saying that. I was actually wincing, but he knocked hit the nail on the head in terms of, I want Pody to have an amazing memory, and of course, wouldn't it be phenomenal to see Pody win?
Yeah.
But first and foremost, I want all the fighters to leave in one piece, and certainly then for lasting memories to be made for everybody that was in the room that night.
Yeah, I'd say the same to Pody. When you are in the business of boxing or in the business of entertainment, sometimes you take it for granted, the memories that you're giving people as a byproduct of what your job is. I mean, for me to be there on the 26th, my son's last day of school, to be able to sit in father and son, his first boxing show, I mean, that's something I'll always remember.
Yeah.
Hopefully Jack's the same, but what I said to Pody, huge thank you to you and your team, because there is so many people throughout the ages, different parts of the world, that have memories of of these special venues. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you, Ciaran. And that brings us to the end of our very first episode of the Encore podcast. Delighted to have had you, both as a friend, obviously, but as a guest, and somebody who's very au fait and brilliant in the hosting seat. So I'll be learning a few techniques from you as we go.
Thank you. We'll have to do it again.
Brilliant. We certainly will.
See you soon.
Thanks, Ciaran. Thank you.